everybody, welcome back to the latest episode in our series in Programming with Java. In today's episode, we're going to talk about one of the most fundamental programming concepts, which is the idea of classes and objects. Now, before we begin coding, we have to take a look at a few things. So in Java, there are static and non-static classes. Static classes are like a set of instructions for your program, versus non-static classes, which we'll be looking at today, more like a blueprint used to create objects in your program. So, in order to better understand this, let's take a look at an example. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and load up Eclipse like shown right here. And we have a file, right, with our class, and then our main method here, and we can do stuff at the main method just like we normally do, like we could print out hello world or something like that. And we could push play, and it prints out hello world. Now, of course, this is a non-static class right here. Or no, this is this is a static class right here. In order to make a non-static class, we're going to need a new file. Technically, you can create a non-static class right here just by typing class, but there are some limitations to this, so we're going to go ahead and right-click on our package and create a new class, and we'll call this class something like player. Right? So imagine we're making a game and we want to make a player class, and that way it's like, like a standard player and like any sort of like a RPG for fighting game or something, right? With like health and weapons and inventory and all that fun stuff. We do want to make sure that this public static void main function is unchecked. So we do not want a main function right here, because this is not a static class. It is not able to exist on its own, right? So we don't want to have that. We just want to push finish. That should make our new class right here. So we can go ahead and start typing in the class what we want in a player, and we want let's say obviously we want health, right? So we'll say integer health. And we can give this a predefined value, or we can just say we want health, and that's it. Just define it there. We also want a string name, and this will start to make more sense as we go along. Right here, so we have a player who has health and name, and the only thing missing for this to be a working class is some sort of constructor, or some sort of way to make a new player. Now, by default, there's like you could just make a new player now, but it won't actually do anything. Like we can go here, and we can say similarly to how we would make a new string. We can say string, and then let's not do name. Let's do what should we do? Why do we do name? Name equals Adam or something like that, right? Similarly to that, we can do player, the player name. Say this player is called Adam, something, right? Equals, and then in this case, we want to say new player, right there, with a set of parentheses and a semicolon. So it says player Adam equals a new player, and what it's doing is making a new player, and this player right here has health and name, and it's assigning it to the variable Adam right here. So now we can go down. We can say Adam dot health. Right, that health just like that equals, say, 100 points right there, and then we can just print it out just like that, and it prints out 100 right there. And so you can probably already see how this can be very, very powerful in programming, where we can just define a player right here, and we can make like a player named Adam. We can make a player named say John, right? Because new player, just like that right there, and we can manipulate it how we see fit. Now, of course, it's a little boring, right? We're just making a new player. When we want to make a new player, we want it to have a name. We want to have a health. We don't want to have a player with no health and no name. So we're going to add a constructor in. And in order to do this, we're going to type player, close parentheses, open curly brace, close curly brace. It's very, very similar to a method call, because in the sense it operates like this. This is what's called whenever you want to make a new player right here. It calls this function right here. And all we have to say is we want as a parameter an integer health, right? just like that, and a string, which is the name. So then we can go here, we can say this dot health. So that's grabbing the health right here, the health of the player, not the health that's being passed in. In fact, just to clarify this, we can probably set this equal to H and this equal to N. So this dot health equals H. So it's going to assign the player health to whatever value we pass in here. And we can say this dot, nope, not this dot, this dot name equals N. Just like that. So now when we go here, these give us errors because we're not giving it a health and name. So we can say 100 and we'll say this person's name is Adam. And here let's say John has taken a little bit of damage. We'll say 90 and we'll put John. But of course this Adam.health statement still works as it's redefining the health value of Adam, which just happens to be the same thing. Because it's not really doing anything. But let's comment this out for now. So right now we can print out, let's say Adam.name, like that, and then plus, put a little space right there, Adam.health. And, oh, we need a plus sign. There we go. That should work. And so it'll print out Adam 100. And if we copy this down below, and we print out instead of John, not name, and John.health, just like that, it prints out something just like this right here. And so what this means is that we can write functions that take in a player, right? And we know that all players will have names, all players will have healths, and so that allows us to modularize our code and do very, very powerful things. So since we know that all players have health and a name, we can go into our player class and we can actually make a method in here. All right. So we can say public. Let's say void right here. In this case, we're not putting static. It's not a static method. It's not in a static class. It's in its own class. And this method we're about to type cannot exist on its own. Right? It has to be tied to a player object. So that's why this is a non-static class, because it can change based on what the player object is. I'm going to say public void, say get stats. Not like this. And it takes no parameters. And all we want to do is just print out the name and the health, right? So we can go system. And we just print name. And plus, in this case, we can just use name, right? There's only one name variable I can reference, which is this name right here. And then we could do a plus sign, and we could put health right there. We could put a plus sign, and we could put health, just like that. And so what's going to happen is that when we go back here, instead of doing this, we can just comment out these lines, and we can just say Adam dot get stats, just like that, and John dot get stats. Really, this should be titled something like print stats, because it's just printing them out. But for our intents and purposes, it works just like this right here. So we can just do get stats, and it'll do the same thing no matter what the player is, as long as it's the player object right here. Now we can also do additional methods, not just get stats. We can also do something like public void change health, like this, and it'll take in integer h for health, right? And we go here, and we can say health equals h, like this. We want to change the health or something. In this case, we don't have to use this dot, because the computer can differentiate between health and h. But if we were to redefine this, instead of h as, but instead say health, like this, then we use this dot health to refer to the player health, and we use this health to refer to this health in here. Although generally, it's good practice to differentiate between two, so you technically don't have to use health. Although it's also safe to put this dot just in case you forget. So now we can go here, and we can say Adam get stats, and we could say Adam dot change health. Let's say Adam dies or something. His health is now down to 0. Right? And we can print Adam dot get stats right here. And we push run, and there we go. So it prints out health 100, and then Adam dies, and it says health 0, and then we get to 90 right here. And we can do all sorts of powerful things with this. We can go in here, and we can take this, and instead of printing out health, if it's 0, we can just print out none, like say they're dead or something. Also, in many cases, something like change health will often return a boolean, actually, and so it'll return if h is greater than 0 right here, right? So in this case, we can push run, and it'll do the exact same thing, but this change health thing is returning a false because it's not greater than 0, and so if we wanted to, we can say boolean alive equals this thing right here, and then we can print out alive just like that, and in this case it'll return false, right? And so when we print it out, it'll print out false, telling us the player is dead. So you can do all sorts of really cool things with this. Another thing worth mentioning is that all of these variables and methods can also be private. This is when public and private really come into play. So something, for instance, the player name. Generally, you don't want the player to easily be able to change their name throughout the game. That creates confusion. It confuses a lot of things, including other players and the computer. So we can just say string name is private right here. I'm going to say it's private. And then we go into here, and we can say Adam.health. But if we try to do Adam.name, it just won't appear. It'll give us an error. So this is really useful because the only time we can define the name is in our constructor right here, where we feed in a health and a name. That's the only time we can define the name. After that, you can't change it. So maybe you want your game to be like this. Maybe you want it to be something else. It's all up to you. But just know that this capability to make things private does exist. So to review what we've talked about today we started taking a look at classes by going over this example class right here, which creates a player with a health and name parameter right here. And we can make a new player in our code by saying player, which is the name of our class, give it a name, equals a new, and then the name of our class, as well as the parameters required in the constructor right here, which we defined on line 6. So it takes in a health, in a name, and it sets the player health and name equal to whatever that is right there. And then each player, we can also give it methods that are non-static. They're inherent to the player itself. Something like get stats right here, which just prints out the name and the health of the person, or the player rather. And then we have something like change health right here, which will allow you to change the health, and it'll return true if they're still alive and false if they're dead right here. And we can call these methods by typing the name of our player dot method right here. You may also notice that we've already worked with objects in the past. We've worked with probably the most notable one, the string object. So when you make a new string, you say string text equals, instead of specifying here, you could say a new string like this, and then feed in, this is some text right here. And this is a perfectly legitimate way to define a string. It's very, very similar to our making a new player. And guess what? The strings also have built-in functions like char at, right? Char at 3 or something will return the character at the 3rd position. So this is a method of the text object right here. So the whole language of Java is built upon this idea of objects. And we'll probably take a look at a project or something in the coming episodes, but go ahead and play around with it. Try making your own object. Maybe instead of a player, you can make a vehicle object, you can make a food object, anything that you are comfortable with. Go ahead and play around with it. Try making your own constructor. You can also do different constructors as well. Like if we just want to give it a name right here, right? We say string name, and we can say this dot name equals name, right? And we can let's say we use this constructor if we're assuming they're spotting in at full health. Let me say that this dot, or we can say health equals 100 right here. So if we want to spot it in full health, we can make a new constructor right here and just say that, just give them a name and automatically set the health to 100. The opportunities are endless, as you can see. You can do whatever you want with this. So go ahead and play around with it. Let me know down in the comments what you come up with. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.